Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. So today we are continuing to blast through these season preview videos. If you have not checked out our other videos already, make sure to check them out, of course, after this one. So we're looking at the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers. And I know a lot of people kind of have a thing with that, like, oh, they're not defending because it's a new Stanley Cup it's a new season, new Stanley Cup. I don't look at it that way. I look at it like, yeah, they're defending their title. They're defending if they are still the top team in the league. And until it's taken away from them, they are still the defending Cup champs. At least that's my opinion. We just talked about the Oilers in the last video. Kind of fitting that we're talking about the two Stanley Cup final teams back to back. But for the Florida Panthers, this is a season of, can the defense hold up? That's really what the storyline is for this team. The key factors that they lost on the blue line, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, no longer a part of this team. And they also no longer have Brandon Montour, who packed his services way to the west, heading to Seattle. So for the Florida Panthers, a lot of the same, especially in the forward group for Hagee, Barkov, Reinhart, still your top line. Sam Bennett, Evan Rodriguez, and Matthew Tkachuk, your second line. I think one of the better third lines in the league, especially name-wise, Eetu Luostarinen, Maki Samuskevich, and Anton Lundell. I think Anton Lundell is going to be the next second-line center here in the future. I don't know what they're doing there. They seem to have Bennett in the top six. I think that's pretty interchangeable. Bennett and Lundell can switch between second and third line center roles. I think that's pretty much where we're at. There's, the iron sharpens iron. I think is perfect for that. Those two players, Jesper Boqvist, Thomas Nosek, and Mackenzie Entwistle. We've seen, the Florida Panthers take a reclamation project and turn them into a really good player before. I expect that to be the case with a guy like Mackenzie Entwistle. So keep an eye out for that. He was a former good prospect. I think he was with the Chicago Blackhawks. He's got the size, he's got the ability. It's just his skating and his scoring ability hasn't been as developed as I think that people were hoping when he was drafted. Defense, Gustav Forsling, Aaron Ekblad, that's your top pair. Kulikov and Mikkola is your second pair. Nate Schmidt and Adam Boqvist. I think that's a serviceable defense, but are those guys going to be able to replace Montour and OEL? That's really what it comes down to for the Panthers. That's the big storyline that I'm really watching for because this team looks fairly the same in pretty much every other regard. Goaltending's the same. Bobrovsky, Spencer Knight, those guys are coming back. Up front, you're replacing guys like Entwistle. Lomberg left, so Ryan Lomberg's no longer there. There's little things with this team that you're like, ooh, that could be a problem, but I honestly think that the Panthers still have enough of the core of this team where they should be okay. With that said, goaltending's got to be better during the regular season. Spencer Knight, he's got to play like a starter. Sergei Bobrovsky, he's got to play just as well as he did down the stretch last year. Yeah, maybe his numbers will fall down a little bit compared to where they were, but they got to stay above that 900 threshold. And I think between Spencer Knight and Sergei Bobrovsky, there's enough of a cushion between the both of them where if one's not playing well, the other can step in, but the other one has to be able to step up in the big moments. And I think that was something that was legitimately a concern for the Florida Panthers during points last season. I still see them as probably the team that can win the Eastern Conference again next year. It's not a proven because now that's basically what they did it now twice. Yeah, so the last 2 years they've gone to two straight Stanley Cup Finals. Can they do it for a third year? Yes. I kind of say that with my, tweaking my head back and forth because I think that there are teams in the Eastern Conference, especially in the Metro, that are going to kind of say to the Panthers, yeah, you thought. I think the Rangers, the Devils, the Hurricanes, they're going to be nipping at their heels just like they did last year. I think, like I said, the Devils more so because I think they had just a bad season last year. I expect them to be a real threat in the NHL next season. In their own division, you have the teams toward the bottom that are working their way up, like Ottawa, Buffalo, Montreal, Detroit. All those teams are going to get better than they probably were last year. And then kind of the unprovens, like we've got teams like Tampa, Toronto, Boston. Where do those teams that have been perennial teams that make the playoffs in the 2010s and now the 2020s, is that going to continue or are we going to see them fall off? And of those teams, really between Boston, Toronto, Tampa, and Florida, I'm the most confident in the Florida Panthers holding out and continuing to be the top team or one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, specifically in the Atlantic Division. And that's why I have the Florida Panthers making the playoffs next season. I have them not only finishing first with 106 points, getting home ice advantage. I just think that the Florida Panthers might see a regression from last season, but not to the point where because I think there's going to be a more murky water between the playoff teams and the non-playoff teams in the Atlantic. I think Florida will still come out on top of all of that. So, like I said, the key factors for this team you really got to watch for. Like I said, Montour and OEL. That's really going to be the key thing for the Panthers. How much are they going to miss those guys? Goaltending, we need to see better from Spencer Knight. I'm hoping for a good season from him. We've talked so much about how good he is growing up and developing at the Olympics and the IIHF, winning some gold medals and some good medals with the U.S. team. Like, this was the poster boy for USA goaltending. He's got to get back to form, and I think it's definitely possible, but you don't want to start to see the Jacob Markstrom effect coming in here with Spencer Knight, and hopefully that won't be the case. Like I said, I love some of the guys that they were able to keep this offseason. They re-signed guys like Sam Reinhart, Anton Lundell. Those guys are locked in. And the fact that they were able to keep the top line intact, one of the best lines in hockey, saw a little bit of a change. So, Tarasenko no longer there. So you've got Verhaeghe, Barkov, and Reinhart. That's a really good line. I think Verhaeghe is going to get a little bit more of that ice time, similar to what he saw in Tampa. This is a good hockey team, guys, and I think Rodriguez coming back. Like I said, there's a lot of things, especially up front on the Florida Panthers, that didn't really change. And like I said, as long as those guys in the bottom six can kind of just blend their way back in, I don't know. I would say, like I said, losing Duclair, Tarasenko, Lomberg, those were really the key guys up front that are no longer there. But I wouldn't even say those were guys that they had to keep. It was really keeping the key guys, like I said, that they did keep, like Reinhart. And he had such a good season last year. Does he fall off a little bit from last year? Probably. But even if he falls off, let's say, to like a normal pace, I don't think that's really going to be that much of an issue. So we'll see what happens. Guys, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think of the Florida Panthers? Are they a team that is going to get back to form? Are they going to get back to where we expect them to be? Let me know in the comment section down below, because I think the Panthers are one of the more teams that I would say pretty decisively will get back to the playoffs and will be a team that is a threat. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next time.